Before we get started on the presentation, I thought it'd be good to give you a little bit of background as to, well, we're going to be talking about volume recruitment, so our entry-level recruitment for the next 15 minutes, okay? So, historically, we've never, ever, ever struggled to recruit into entry-level roles, okay? And currently, we've seen that tide turn. We're our volume recruitment team. We're a high volume team that currently I don't feel we're equipped as well as we should be to recruit high volume. And we've really realized that over the last 12 months. So historically, from the years that I've worked in recruitment, we've never struggled to hit numbers for entry-level roles. And you'll be amazed to hear that up until 2021, all of our applications were 100% organic. We never spent a single penny on recruitment advertising costs for entry-level roles. We've never used any recruitment agencies. And then I would say mid-2021, Kyle and I started to sweat a little bit when we seen recruitment numbers starting to increase, and then applications dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And Kyle and I and the team were left sort of scratching our heads a little bit, as if to think, right, this is completely alien to us. We don't know why this is happening. Well, we know why it's happening in competition and uncertain times market. But we were running into really, really deep waters, and excuse the nautical puns through this presentation as well. So let me just give you an example to what I call the good old days. So going back to December 2020, this is a customer service position that we were recruiting for. Numbers requested were 20, applications received within 19 days, just short of 250, recruitment advertising spend, 0, jobs offered, 22, started, 20. And that was your typical vacancy. We would come in the morning and we would see anywhere between 30 to 50 applications on a daily basis, and it was just a dream. So this was the utopian vision of recruitment, and we never realized how good we had it until 2021, and we realized how things were going. So let's fast forward to today, essentially. Here's a customer service position that we recruited for in September. Numbers requested 30, applications received 130, time to hire has increased significantly, recruitment advertising spend per this one position, £1,000, jobs offered 28, started 22. So we fell short of requested numbers quite significantly. Again, this was really, really alien to us. So let's have a look at some of the data going back over the years. So the slide to Kyle's side, okay, that shows the good old days versus today. The blue slide indicates the applications that we were receiving on a yearly basis, and the bottom line indicates the numbers requested of new hires from the business. So as you can see, sort of 2021, applications start to dwindle, numbers requested from the business going up, and that's a dangerous combination to be in. The slide, even more depressing slide closest to me, that shows our candidate decline rate, okay? We've seen that candidate decline rate double since 2020, gone from 10% to 20%. And the numbers that actually equates to, okay, we've had over 348 people decline our offer this year. 348 people. If you think of the time and effort, the money that goes into offering those 348 people for them to decline our offer, it's been heartbreaking. And if I'm honest, it's really been our Achilles heel this year with people declining our offers of employment. And I'm sure we're all probably in the same boat. It's another nautical pun with this. If we have a look historically from 2018, 19, 20, numbers requested, numbers offered, numbers started, hit it out of the park. Never failed, easy work. 2021, we just fell short of requested numbers for the full year by about 6%. And 2022, if you have a look at the orange slide here, this indicates the amount of people that we've offered to, which is more than what's been requested from the business. But then the grey slide shows how many people have actually started. So that orange slide has really, really been our Achilles heel in 2022, and is really, it's been quite scary, quite challenging. But nonetheless, it's not all doom and gloom. We've still offered to over 1,800 people for our contact centre positions this year. Yes, it's been a battle. Yes, it's been scary. Yes, we've been in unknown waters. Yeah, so I'm just going to take you back, and I'm going to walk you through the storm of 2022. Towards the end of Q4 in 2021, we were told that in Q1 2022, we need to hire over 700 people within claims, sales, and customer services. At that point, when we were told this, we were averaging 14 applications a day across 19 different positions, okay? Really scary. We had multiple vacancies live and little applications coming through. We were under a huge amount of pressure from the business functions. Call answer rates were very low, and we were deep unknown waters. Kyle, what did we do in 2022 to help us achieve what we've achieved?
Thanks, Ben. As Ben said, it has been a stormy 2022, but for us to make over 1,800 offers this year, it's incredible, and I think a lot of work's got into it, and just a couple of key points here, really. But to start off with, we had to explain to the company really what was going on. I think we're an in-house recruitment team. You guys are recruiters. We know the market. We know the challenges that are going ahead. But the company doesn't. The company just needs staff to take calls, to answer customer queries. So we had meetings across the business. We had to explain the market. We had to set expectations. We had to set things like, we can't have 90 people starting next month. It's not going to happen. Or set expectations of calibre of candidates. We knew that. So it was important for us to meet everybody. And to be honest, it's been an ongoing meeting really over the last few months. The team meet on a weekly basis with all areas of the company. We keep them close to the numbers. We keep them close to the calibre of candidates. And the relationship has just gone from strength to strength. We've made it easy for candidates to apply. It's not something that we probably wanted to do. We know candidates are engaged. They put the effort into a 9-page application form. They really want to work for Admiral. They're probably going to stay for Admiral. But we had to be realistic, so we changed it to 2 options of applying. You've got a nice, easy click CV, which works well with our jobs boards, Indeed, Total Jobs. Candidates can just apply straight in. We get to see more people. The other side of things then is just a simple 1-page application form. We just ask for work history, and that is pretty much it. As simple as possible, all 1 page, nice to read. We made it even easier as well. So part of our recruitment process pre-2021 was a telephone interview. So it's a 15-minute conversation with a candidate. We go through their work history. We get an opportunity to talk a little bit about the job, just to really gauge how they are. It gave us a real confidence that the candidate that we were putting in front of our departments had that level of calibre. But the numbers, as Ben said, were drastic. So we had to make it easy. We were losing about 40% of candidates from applications to telephone interview. So we made sure that the interviewing departments were seeing as many people as possible. So ultimately, to get into Admiral, we know that the buck stops with the people making the interview. Nothing changed about the calibre of candidates that we're letting in. But what it did was it just gave us an opportunity to meet more people and probably uncover those rough diamonds that may not want to do a telephone interview. We invested in jobs boards, which, as Ben said, we've never done before. I think it's a bit of a utopia looking at advertising spend as £0 back in 2021, but we've got to be realistic, and some things that we did, the Admiral brand, it wasn't kind of punching as much as it was within the Cardiff, Swansea, Newport areas. So we knew that applications come through Indeed, but we had to invest in it, we put spend behind it, and we had to become subject matter experts in something that we just didn't know. Over 50% of our applications in the contact centre come from Indeed, and we're logging in, we don't know where we are. 1 minute we're top of the search pages, the next minute we're 19th, and there's a plumber in Swindon who's above us in Cardiff jobs. So that's when we had to reach out. We probably had to say, look, we don't know Indeed, we don't know these places. So that's when we outsourced to a third-party supplier. Now we've got a company that look after our Indeed. They spend our budget reasonably. They give us advice. They do a full review on the website, the job titles, the content within it, and ultimately, again, making candidates attracted to us and making candidates apply to us. We had to get out there as well. We can't just kind of sit on our hands and wait for applications to come in, checking our watch, seeing if anything else happened. We got out there. We got out into the community. We talk about Admiral. We come to events like today. We go to as many jobs as possible. And something we had to do is kind of get out there on the radio, newspapers, online. We're in the Wales Online. We went to West Wales, and some of the feedback for new starters was, well, I know Admiral, my insurance is with Admiral, but they've never recruited in West Wales. So we had to just advertise. We're here, we're hiring, this is Admiral, this is what we do. So we launched front page spread on the Pembrokeshire Times. Again, had to become a subject matter expert on what people read there. We got radio jingles. And like I said, just becoming a presence within those local areas. The next one is something which we had never done before in volume recruitment. So something we do in support recruitment quite often is we use agencies, we use agencies to hire recruiters. But as Ben said, we've never had to do that before with us, and probably had to swallow a little bit of our pride really when it came to using an agency. We had unrealistic targets. I mean, Q1 we had about 600 people to hire within about a month, and we had to look at the business, the demands, the call volumes, and just say to ourselves, we can't do this. So we reached out with Sanderson as an agency. They helped us recruit 166 people. It was great. It was great. One, it gave us the candidates. It gave the departments lots and lots of new starters. But two, for Ben and I, it was really interesting to work with them and just look at the structure of their team. How are they going out and getting 166 hires in a month's time? What can we do? How can we make ourselves as future-proof as possible? So the learnings we found from that have been phenomenal, and probably something that we will certainly take on board over the next 12 months as we kind of learn with the team. We had to do different things as well, so trialling remote locations. Cardiff, Swansea, Newport, they're small areas and companies across the whole of the UK recruiting remote. So we had to look, where do we recruit, how do we recruit? We had to look at options. Something Admiral's very, very proud of is being a Welsh company. We're a Welsh company with Welsh staff, and we're proud of that. So we wanted to make sure we kept our identity. So we looked at locations. Do we go across the UK? Do we go anywhere, really? But we decided to keep it local and go within Wales. We thought, where can we go? Where can we trial? Went to West Wales. West Wales is great for us for two reasons. One, it keeps the brand, it keeps the image, the identity. But two, it also keeps staff connected to Admiral, and it's really important to us that staff are engaged. It means that from the Swansea office, it's an hour drive away. Their team managers can meet them for monthly catch-ups. They can still go to team meetings. If they want to come into the office, there's that ability to do that. And as well as things like equipment, it just made things a lot easier for us. I think probably over the next kind of 6 to 12 months, we will probably see more areas. We've gone quite heavy remote within Mid and West Wales, but we've got to look at things, and we've probably got to think to ourselves, do we go across the UK or not? But certainly something we've learned from, and we'll review from there. We had to look at our remuneration package. So we know there's a lot of competition. We know that everyone's hiring. We know that companies are offering fantastic benefits. So we had to look at our benefits. We have got a massive ongoing project, really, looking at everything and not just kind of taking on our opinions, but speaking to staff. What do they want? How do they want it? And small changes are coming in. We increased our entitlement of annual leave. We reduced our working hours. That's a great type of benefit. And then we also had to increase our salaries, which was great. But it's not easy, and things like this for a company of over 10,000 people, it's not a flick of a switch. And that's where my first point, we collaborating with business partners. If we weren't honest in explaining the struggles and the difficulties within the recruitment market, it becomes difficult to push things like the remuneration package across the line. Other things that we did, we teamed up with charities and employment providers. We've got a phenomenal relationship with Maximus and Renploy, something that was initially started under Project Jets, which was an initiative to get people back into work after the pandemic. We saw a lot of people who had kind of worked for 20 years, never had interviews before. We went, helped them, we gave interview training, and we offered to people. We've interviewed over 300 people, and we've offered to over 160 people from these charities. And it's great. It does work on a you scratch our back basis. One, we're getting out in the community, we're helping people, whether they're successful in Admiral or not. We give them feedback, we give them interview tips. It's been great for us. But also, we're getting over 160 candidates, and these people are great. They're great to work with us, and yeah, it's something we're really excited to do in the future. We increased our employee referral fee scheme. So something we've got to use is Admiral. We employ over 10,000 people, like I said. We've got to use those people. So we tripled our employee referral fee. And what it means is the person who refers the candidate, once that candidate passes probation, they get their fee, and it just works. We know based on attrition that people who work for Admiral, who refer people, they tend to stay. They know somebody there. The culture's already talked about. So it's really important for us to increase it, and it's gone down very, very well. And the next one is probably one of the most important things for us, and we found incredibly beneficial. At the start of 2022, if you were to go onto the Admiral Jobs website, under claims handler, we had 19 different adverts advertising multiple roles within our separate claims area. It was confusing for candidates, and what we saw was pretty much whichever one was at the top would probably get the most applications. So we merged all of those applications into 3 different roles, which were then site-specific. It just made it easier for the candidate to apply. It meant that we can keep the job advert fairly generic, but tell them more about the role when they go into the interview, let them allowed to ask questions. It's really helped. It's allowed us, like I said, funnel those applications to the right, but it's also allowed us to work with departments and pretty much focus on, right, which area needs the demands most, who's going to interview next week, and how are we going to do that. It's been really beneficial and something that's spread across kind of other areas within our contact centres as well. And then lastly, we looked at everything. We looked at complications of job titles. To give you an example, one of our job titles last year was Customer Service Advisor, remote, in brackets, no experience required. Nobody's going to search for that job title. It's confusing. No one knows what customer loyalty is. We do as a company. We work there. We spend time with people. But an external guest doesn't. So we just kept things simple. We worked incredibly hard with our SEOs, looking at things like searchability terms, keeping things fairly customer focused, and just keeping things generic. We changed all of our job titles and we simplified all of our job adverts, purely focused on an introduction to the role, our benefits, and a little bit of introduction how to apply. Then once we get the candidates in, that's when we share a video. We talk more about the role, the structure, making sure they're okay with it. But simplifying all of that, it just made things easy for the candidate.
Thanks, Kyle. Okay, in fact, before I move on to this, some of these things up here, it's really easy and quick to put into a bullet point in a PowerPoint to say, increase salaries, increase annual leave, decrease working hours, let's do an RPO with an agency, let's do remote working locations. Every single one of these things, the amount of effort and time and hard work Kyle and the team put into each and every single one of these things is absolutely phenomenal. And there's no quick fix. The amount of reporting and analysis we had to do to prove that if we increased the salary, the decline rate would drop. If we the amount of work that those papers had to go through in terms of going to different boards and committees to get things over the line. But I think we're really fortunate to work in quite an agile, fast-paced business where they were able to trust us and listen to us, and we were able to make some of these decisions and move really quickly. Okay, so 5 takeaway points of advice. Kyle and I sat down yesterday and we thought to ourselves, if we were going to give advice to anybody who's recruiting high volume numbers, what would that be? What can you take away from this? So what we noticed and what we thought, we wouldn't have been able to hire so many people as we have this year if we hadn't removed that telephone interview and we put more people through to face-to-face interview, allowing us to meet more people with potential and invest in people with potential. So if at any point in your recruitment funnel, you're losing 10, 20, 30, 40% of your recruitment funnel, have a little think about that and see if there's anybody in that segment who you could use. And ultimately, you've still got that safety net there of a final interview. So take a punt if you're unsure. Meet as many people as you can. Honestly, it's worked wonders for us. That said, we've had to complete over 4,500 interviews this year. But that's where the collaboration has come in with the business departments that we work with to pull in their resource and help us get to where we need to be. Second point, keep things simple and clean. As Kyle mentioned, that merging of those claims roles was absolutely fundamental to the success of hiring so many people into claims. And we wouldn't have been anywhere near as successful as what we would have been if we hadn't have done that. And it just makes sense, having 19 different entry-level roles live, all looking for similar skills, experiences, qualifications. Let's make things easier for everyone. Keep it clean and simple. Don't have a 12-page application process and then some sort of test after it. Make the application process as clean and as quick as possible. Make sure you have a great onboarding process. Our onboarding process is good. I'd say it's good. It could be a lot better. But I think we've learned from a lot of mistakes this year and things that we're going to change in 2023. Don't be afraid to test and learn. Everything that we put up on the previous slide, we weren't 100% sure with it, but we had to be bold and we had to be brave and we had to throw ourselves into things to be successful. And lastly, which I think is really important, perfect is the enemy of the good. We could have spent the last 12 months perfecting every single one of those strategy points, but then we would have failed. So sometimes you can spend too long trying to perfect the strategy, but you're chipping away at it, trying to make it perfect. Don't worry about that. If it's good enough and you're up against it with time, throw yourself into it because time will catch up with you. And before we finish, I would just like to ask you all if you could give Kyle and the recruitment team a massive round of applause for the hard work that they've contributed in 2021 and 22. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without them all.